Good afternoon, Internet, and welcome to a pose and anatomy quick little lesson chat thing out here. I was talking with MalcomRex over on Discord, and he has been so kind to let me analyze his drawings. And so we're starting with one where he did things right here, with a character who's in a very seemingly unbalanced pose, but with just his big toe of his left foot there, as you can see, he is able to keep himself in balance, perhaps suggesting his spiritual mastery and kung fu prowess. But over here on this black and white drawing, which he said was a exercise in tone and cross-hatching line art, so success on that mission there. I would give props to him for that. However, anatomy and pose-wise, there are quite a few problems, and so he graciously let me do this analysis using his artwork. So what I'm illustrating here right now is the misplacement of the character's right leg on the left-hand side of the page, and how by moving it over, he would be more balanced, because it seems to just float there and be shorter than his other leg. So now I am playing around with his head, and you can see all the angles of his shoulders and hips are in the same lines, whereas the body actually kind of moves counter to like what the shoulders are doing. The hips will do the opposite sometimes, because one side is contracted while the other side, as you can see, elongated, and that gives you different size sides, more of a Z, as we say in Canada, formation to a lot of the forms in this character. So now I show how I find the chest through that little line by the armpit there really helps guide where to place it. And we puff out his chest on his right hand side some more, and that gives his body the right hand facing side that we want, and we want to contrast where his shoulders are with his face tilting up here. This is a more minor detail and more optional, and I correct the angle, get him facing his hand, as he kind of seems to be looking just at the tops of his fingers or just over them. Hips here, opposite the shoulders, and this means he is leaning most of his weight on his right foot, which is on the left side. And so I move the leg over a bit, ignoring those blue lines, and start drawing a foot box, which I really like to do because the foot is a complicated shape, and as you can see, I'm playing with a lot of different lines. I go straight into the foot for his other foot, his other leg there, but by at least doing one foot box, I get my angles and perspectives for where the foot needs to be. And then I'll usually use the ankle bone to drive home where all the bones go in the foot, and it's a little cut off. I'm sorry about that. I was seeing everything just fine on Photoshop, not realizing OBS didn't capture it all. But if you draw a box to put your foot inside and then draw the anatomy of the foot inside it in those parameters, you're going to have a lot more success getting it at the perspective that you desire. So now, as you can see, I started on the second pose but went back to this one because I forgot the arms. The arms do need just a little bit of modification. The neck muscles on the original drawing were in the completely wrong places, like the ones by the right trachea were actually attached to the left collarbone, according to that drawing. So I fixed it in the green lines there. And now we're on to the pink stuff. I mean, by now you figured out this is a time lapse. So now we are assuming his body weight is on the rear leg, on on his left, on the right-hand side of the page. And that would tilt his hips. Which way are we going? We go with a Z formation across the whole thing. Damn, I'm getting Americanized. Always contrasting each angle, hip, shoulder, and head. So with this one, we keep the face exactly as it is, angled the way it is, and then have the shoulder just barely angled downwards, which still works with the pose we have here. And I do right down to the legs, because there's that S curve that I did with the yellow line. That is how his body is shaped in this pose. And yeah, that back shoulder, his left shoulder on the right side of the page, does not have to be that high, just to have his hand behind his head. And so now I'm doing more foot inside a box type technique, only I'm doing it half. I'm doing the toes as a box, and I'm drawing where the heel is, because I'm lifting the heel off the ground. His forward leg, his right hand leg, is not supporting his entire weight, maybe about 20%, and his heel is up off the ground with his knee popped out, while his left leg on the right side of the page is straighter. And here I try several different tweaks with the foot there, just trying to get it just right, because I want to suggest that the foot is both further back but with the heel planted on the ground. And now I add the shoes in very simplistic lines. These are just to suggest that there's very minimal curve to the foot that's planted on the ground, but lots of curve where the leg is having its knee popped out, because you'll see more of the top of the boot that way, so that increases the curve. And back to our original drawing, just to show one versus the other. One has head down, the forward shoulder. Well, okay, Pink has the forward shoulder lower than the back one, with the head tilted down, and the rear hip is popped higher than the lower one because the knee is bent. And the other one, everything is just the reverse. And I just draw a fun little squiggle for the tail, because you can do whatever the heck you want with the tail. That's a fun little extra appendage just to play with. And so I tweak the shoulder, because I'm thinking, okay, I think he's a little more muscly or something. And I'm also demonstrating you could do folds. You can just do the lines of his neck muscles. Not every little detail must be in there, but the important ones, like the armpit line, the middle line of the chest, which I still didn't quite fix, but I kind of knew what I meant there. Facing the chest in that direction in both scenarios, but still getting two different results. I hope you find that kind of useful. Oh, and there's the reason he looks like he has headphones on is actually because the skull is not a circle. There's a flat part. And so that is actually one of the most useful pieces I find when just doing construction lines for a head. Anyway, I'm out of footage. I hope you found that somewhat educational, if a bit rushed. Like, follow, subscribe, ring my bell for notifications, and keep following me on 100 Days of Making Manga. Thank you. Would you like to see what a finished comic of mine might look like? Right now on Indiegogo, I have released a short and sweet 8-pager called Worm Food, a zombie comic where the worms who eat us in the end must fight for their lives against their own food. Get one and give one in a campaign designed for sharing. Link in description. Thank you kindly.